Alright, what is going on YouTube? Modri, the arena expert, versus Mr.Yo on a 5-game arena show match hosted by Modri over here. Each game is worth $50, and the overall winner of the set will get $50 extra. So a prize pool of $300 is in here. Modri is known for being very, very good on arena, and he has been beating and playing against many high-level players in arena show matches before. This time it is Mr.Yo. Many players and community members from the Chinese community are saying that Yo usually bans arena when he plays ranked matchmaking. So it's going to be interesting because indeed Yo isn't really the player that plays a lot of arena, as we'll jump into game number 1 over here. So welcome to arena. This is standard matchmaking arena. Modri also offered the option to play on the new version of Arena that's made for Masters of Arena 6. But Yo decided to go for the standard matchmaking arena over here. We're gonna have Mr.Yo as Chinese in red to the south, and to the north we're gonna have Modri as blue Burgundians. The first pick in the draft for Modri over here in blue, and Chinese was a quite early pick as well from Mr.Yo over here. So, with the deer push coming in, Mr.Yo is going to have a very low idle time, I have to say. Look at this. This is beautiful from Yo. 23 seconds idle time is actually insanely good from him. We are now using the brand new version of Capture. This is the exact same version that you could have seen in Red Bull Vololo 4. Obviously, the skin that we're using for it, or the actual graphic assets, are different because the main skin that Red Bull is using is sort of licensed to Red Bull. So we are gonna have our own little skin over here. But other than that, the stats that you're going to see here are the exact same. So now we have some idle economy indicators. You're gonna have some APM indicators as well. So there's gonna be a lot of things statistics-wise to use to interpret the results of a game. So yeah, Mr.Yo with 23 seconds of T-cell time, that's an excellent start with the Chinese over here. And Chinese definitely benefit from the fact that you have the deer very close to your town center, because pushing it in quite early allows you to have a very nice food income at the beginning, and that's exactly what Chinese need to have a limited idle time start. Modri is gonna scout out here first. He already pushed in all of his deer, and you see that he's consuming all of those, and now brings in the board. That's very nicely done. Pretty much keeping all but one of his sheep alive. So he opened with one sheep and then just pushed in all of his deer. And now he's going to bring in the board, and timing is going to be near perfect. Look at this. By the time this deer is consumed, the boar arrives. This is a crystal clear timing here from Modri. That was beautifully executed from him. He's going to have all 3 of his gold mines pretty much clustered up here on the front, which is less than ideal. Neither of these are super safe, and they're all on the same side. So a castle here from Mr.Yo, which is somewhat unlikely, but if it actually happens, this would be very troublesome for Modri. He also has both of his stones forward, so it's definitely not an ideal base layout for Modri by any means. Yo's goals are also forward, but they're a little bit more scattered, so one is on the right, one is on the left. And you have a stone at the back as well, so slightly better base for Mr.Yo over here. And the reason why you're seeing purple berries is because the game likes to turn on mods that you have disabled anyways, and considering that it just reinstalls all the mods that you're trying to get rid of, sometimes it ends up activating a mod that I do not want, and I definitely do not want these ugly purple berries. I think this was one of the spring patch thingies that they implemented, but not gonna lie, I really hate it, and it looks like it either activated after I set all my mods, or it just activated by itself. So in between this game and the next one, I'm just gonna disable that. Apologies for that. You're gonna look at purple berries for now. Luckily, they will disappear in the next couple of minutes because both players will consume them and there is no extra berries on the map. Alright, so Mr.Yo is going to have a wood line over here at the back and a second wood line over here. This is quite an unfortunate lumber camp spot because reality is that there isn't really a huge amount of wood here that you can chop from this wood line. So you can actually finish this off quite fast, and then this lumber camp becomes quite underwhelming. So this is not really a great lumber camp here for Mr.Yo. I wonder... Oh, he didn't see it. I think that Yo didn't see that there's actually like gap over here. He probably thought that there is like more forest here. So yeah, I don't blame him for it. It's a pretty unlucky lumber camp over there. Meanwhile, for Modri, this one is even worse. This is an awful lumber camp for Modri here. This one is pretty decent, but this one is actually very underwhelming over here. Maybe, considering that his right side here is pretty open, he can't actually go for lumber camp there. He's going to vote off quite early. This is a little bit dangerous, sending out a villager that only has 18 HP, so it doesn't even have loom, and this is a damaged vill as well. Obviously, the only way that he would lose this vill is if Yo Scout is around, and that doesn't seem to be the case. It's a bit of a gamble, but this gamble is not going to hurt him at all. Over here, he's going to vote off, and he should be good to go. 2 farms being dropped over here. My OCD is being hurt really badly by the fact that this farm is not 1 tile more this way. But anyways, looking at his eco upgrades, double bit accent, horse color, the real power of Burgundians here is horse color. Because that is what gives you the ability to drop very efficient farms even early on, so you don't have to drop those Dark Age farms without horse color. Obviously, double bit axe helps here quite a bit as well, but horse color might be even more valuable in this one. This obviously will delay his click up to Feudal Age. As you see, he's clicking up at 26 vills, but it's going to pay off in the long run because in exchange, he's going to have a very, very efficient economy to work with. Meanwhile, Yo is going to drop a barracks over here, going up to Feudal Age. This barracks is a little early, and it's probably just going to be because he wants to go for scouts. He's free on gold, and the only reason why he's free on gold is because he's Chinese. He had to grab loom, and if you grab loom, you need to send 3 vills on gold instead of just 2. So that's why we're seeing free on gold here from Mr.Yo. Anyways, it's actually, this is a fun little wall here from Modri. He technically could have just dropped this wall over here. He doesn't actually need this. And you got the double layer polycide. That should keep any aggression out for a significant amount of time. Modri is also going to go for the barracks. This is, I think, a couple seconds too late. It's not going to be a big issue, but still something that Modri needs to pay attention to. So he might need to send the second vill to build this one a little sooner than what he wanted. It's coming up just in time, so it looks like Modri's timing here was actually right at the end. Alright, so Mr.Yo going for market and stable. That's pretty common for arena starts. You don't necessarily need a lot of blacksmith upgrades early on. You need the stable because you want to control relics, you want to control the map, and you need the market because in case you messed up something in your build order, you want to be able to balance your eco. In general, you want to be able to balance your eco because that could help quite a bit at getting additional town centers up faster and just making sure that they are consistently working. Meanwhile, on the other side, we are gonna have Modri coming in here. That's a 26 plus 2, but obviously he has double bit accent horse color for the entire game, which helps quite a bit. And he will probably grab Boso while he's going up, maybe even heavy plow, because these villagers will finish this sheep just now, which means that they will need to drop some farms, so heavy plow could make sense right now. And indeed, here's Boso heavy plow coming in here. Leveraging the fact that they're also cheaper, he can squeeze in both. And that's the game plan here with Burgundians. They're just so powerful economically. He's going to keep free on gold, but that's probably because he just wants to pop out a couple of monks to control the relics. And speaking of relics, those seem to be favoring Mr.Yo over here. The majority of them is on Mr.Yo's side. I would dare to say that 3 of them is super easy to pick up for Mr.Yo, and 2 of them are sort of in neutral ground in between the players. Now, the question is, what is Modri going to do here? Because I think Modri might need to mix in the light cav upgrade a little bit earlier than his opponent. And the reason why is because Yo could technically go for scouts that have bloodlines, and the bloodlines are not available for Burgundians here. So if there is bloodline scouts versus non-bloodline scouts, then Yo could just easily win the middle. Obviously, spearmen and monks are still a factor, but there might be more motivation for Modri to get the light cav upgrade than there is for Mr.Yo. Anyways, 2 scouts out for Mr.Yo, and we got already 4 for Modri. He's definitely pumping out some scouts overall, as for Modri, this is probably going to be Monastery and second town center somewhere. That second TC could be on the gold because it's a pretty open gold mine, or it could be on the wood as well. And indeed, here's the light cav upgrade immediately for our blue player. Fun fact, Modri means blue in Slovenian. And Modri is a Slovenian player, so he always plays blue as far as I know. Obviously, whenever that's possible by tournament rules. And that's where his name comes from as well. Anyways, he runs into a Spearman over here, definitely not a fight that he wants to take. But he's doing a pretty good job at just controlling the walls of Yo, knowing that his opponent will go for these relics quite early on, so he's just trying to snipe monks at this point. He also brings back the damage, the light cav, and will go for a monk to heal them up. Goes for fast husbandry, which allows him to just rush down monks a lot faster, allows higher maneuverability, and that can be very, very helpful when it comes to controlling the middle as well. The question is which relics Modri is going to start going for. He could try going for these neutral ones over here and just say, okay, these are too close to Yo's base, I'm not going to contest those. Or he could try going for those and yoing one away from Mr.Yo. Now, Yo is going to do something that is rarely done on Arena. He's going to mix in a knight. A knight is a decent idea as long as your opponent only has light cav. He even mixed in a camel. But if Modri gets a conversion on that, that's going to be a disaster for Mr.Yo. So Yo is taking a big gamble here. Popping out some knights and camels is very, very dangerous when your opponent has monks. Nice micro from Modri here, look at that. He took away the weak light cav and then used the strong one to finish off that Spearman. Now in the meanwhile, Modri is going to lose one monk over here to the knight and the camel. And in such a scenario, you probably want to convert the camel. And that's the second monk that was picked off. So conversion RNG aren't really helping right now for Modri. And that's an excellent start for Mr.Yo. Behind this one, both players have 3 town centers. And they both have about the same villager count. But no eco upgrades from Castle Age for Mr.Yo just yet. Yo, in the meanwhile, is already in with one relic, is moving out for a second one, and he should have no trouble picking that one up. Modri is struggling quite a bit dealing with that single camel and knight. As I said, the conversion RNG isn't really helping him right now. TC idle time wise, Yo has a lot more TC idle time though, so he's very much focused on fighting in the middle, but that means that overall his idle time is going to be greater. It's going to be compensated by the fact that he has got some extra relics and that he's going to go for the 4th TC already. Here comes another monk. Modri still doesn't have Sanctity, so that knight and camel can deal with that pretty easily. And look at Yo. He's just juking around with those units over there trying to avoid the conversion. Obviously, it doesn't help against the conversion, and Yo wants to loop around. Yo knows it. Oh, and this is where things get a lot worse for Yo. He lost the camel to conversion. Yo's idea originally was that he wanted to drag the light cav to chase the knight and the camel, and then use the scout to snipe the monk, and he could still try to snipe a monk here. There is no Sanctity, so it's pretty easy to kill that monk, and he's going to get one. That's very, very good value, and now he dives in, tries to snipe the monk over there. Oh my goodness, Mr.Yo! He yoinks the monk over there, and then he's able to disengage. He's going to lose another camel here. But, I mean, the value is just enormous. He has picked up 4 relics. Yo must be very happy with this scenario overall. He's on 4 TCs, 4 relics as well. Modri is on 3 TCs. And now Yo can just focus on booming. That was an absolutely marvelous last 2 minutes for Mr.Yo here. So now, we're gonna have 2-man saw even coming in here for Modri. He's going for the Imperial Age lumber camp upgrade. Wheelbarrow just now in. The biggest problem for Yo is that his eco upgrades are kind of lacking. That is just double bit axe and horse color right now. Obviously, Chinese with the extra food on farms compensates a little bit for not having heavy plow, as he's now grabbing heavy plow for the next one, as Funkraut is back for 24 months. Holy smokes. 2nd year. I appreciate it a lot. Thank you so much. Welcome back. 24 months is a lot of time. It's hard to believe I've been streaming for that long. Alright, stone being mined here by Modri, which makes me wonder if we're going to see an early castle from him. It could make sense to castle this area because, as I said, his golds are super exposed. Yo already has 40 on food. With that food income, even with 4 TCs, he should have no trouble getting up to Imperial relatively soon. Meanwhile, on the other side, Modri has 28 on food, but he's gonna go for a 5 TC boom. Obviously, he's gonna have the advantage of having 2 Mensa over here, which is a pretty massive boost to your wood income, and with 5 TCs, he has the chance to outboom Mr.Yo over here pretty easily. On the other hand, I think if Yo plays this aggressive and he's already going for University, he has a Monastery, which means he will have the 2 buildings he needs to click up to Imperial. And with that resource count, this is gonna be Imperial Age soon for Yo. He's mining stone, and it's very possible we're going to see just defensive castle first, and then pop out a couple of Chukanus, march forward and drop a castle somewhere closer to Modri's base. In this one, obviously, the 4 relics also help quite a bit in terms of gold income. Yo is going for a range, so it could technically be just Arbalest if he's afraid that he can't have decent amount of Chukunu out by the time he reaches Imperial, because he's going for multiple ranges. If he only made one, I would say it's probably for Tumbling only, but it very much seems like we're going to see Arbalests from him, and he's just now constructing a blacksmith, in fact 2 blacksmiths. And the reason why he's doing this is because he realizes that, oh shoot, I need a lot of upgrades. Like, he's going to need the entire fletching bodkin arrow bracer line, and he's gonna probably need the archer armor upgrade as well. So, here comes Arbalest, or soon to be Arbalest, over here. Is it Flemish Revolution time? It could be, but the Flemish Revolution is independent about the town centers. The truth of the matter is that Modri has 7 TCs, and it very much seems like he's gambling on a Flemish Revolution here. The reason why is because there is no motivation of going for 7 TCs unless you will need to reboom really fast at some point. But if this is Flemish Revolution, Modri needs to get up to Imperial, get the infantry upgrades, which is vital, something that he hasn't done so far, then get up to like basically 200 wills, because if you go for less, then you're just not gonna have the numbers to convert to Flemish Militia. I could see something like Imperial Age, Flemish Revolution with 5 bombard cannons. That could be something to consider. Crop rotation coming in here from Modri. The problem is that he's nowhere close to Imperial. So you see that there's already Arbalests coming in here from Mr.Yo, tumbling as well. And I think that Yo is going to drop a castle here on the front. And considering that he could deny that stone mine, which is the safer stone mine for Modri, this one is even more exposed, it's very possible that Modri will have to buy the remaining stone he needs for a castle so that he can pop Flemish Revolution. Now, speaking of Mr.Yo, he sees all gold. Look at this. Look at this vision from Yo. He knows all 3 golds are here, so this is the angle that he's gonna have to pressure. And he also knows that the stone mine is here, and that's why he's dropping the castle there. That is a very, very good map awareness there from Mr.Yo. As now he's gonna have only a handful of Arbalests, though. Not a huge amount, to be honest. It's only 10 of them. They are still trying to scare away the wheels. Modri's gonna go for Fortified Wall and Forging first. He's got a stable, he's now going for a castle, but there is no indication of him going for Coastaliers or anything or so. And look at Yo. This is why Yo is one of the best players in the world. His map awareness is just absolutely outstanding. The way that he's denying this stone mine over here, and as I said, the next castle from Yo would probably come up over here, knowing that all 3 of those gold mines are over here, and now it's going to be heavy camel. Uh-oh, I think Yo is making a wrong decision here, because that's definitely Flemish Revolution from Modri. Squires, infantry upgrades, he's also going for a double blacksmith strategy. But if Mr.Yo is going for heavy camel, Flemish Militia will eat that. He definitely needs Arbalests to deal with that. And the truth of the matter is that, as I said, 162 wills, if you want to go for Flemish Revo here, you're gonna need like 180, 190 though. Because you have to get the maximum value out of that. Now the gold mine is being denied though for Modri, and this is why I said that this is gonna be pretty threatening for him. Trap's already coming out as well. And we will have Chainmail in as well. But until plate mail comes in, Flemish Revolution is completely useless, because even just a couple of arbs will just annihilate everything. Light Cav coming in here from Mr.Yo as well. Once he breaches the walls, and he could do that with like 3 petards or so, he could just start trickling in light cavalry to the opponent's economy. But Modri is waiting for one big pop over here. Now Yo is taking down the TCs, and Modri has no gold income. But there is Blast Furnace, there is Plate Mail, 172 wills. Many people have complained about how crazy Flemish Revolution is as a technology, and it's not really belonging to Age of Empires 2. We will probably see an instance of that one, multiple siege workshops out. That's gonna be for Bombard Cannon, because the Flemish Militia alone won't win you the game. You're gonna need like 5 Bombard Cannon to steamroll the buildings with. But considering that Yo's walls are open, 170 Flemish Militia arriving is definitely something to be careful about. And I feel like this battle could swing really fast over here. Yo is winning on the traditional terms, but Modri is an arena clown here, and it's very possible that Modri's clown strategy here will actually work out. He's losing TCs, which will make it harder for him to reboom. He's got only 800 food, and there is Flemish Revolution. Let's go, boys! Here it goes. 178 military over here. The bombard cannons are about to pop, so will the traps. And this is where things are gonna get rough for Mr.Yo. And as I said, if he had 50 arbs, I don't think that the Flemish Revolution would do enough. I'm not even sure if it's going to do enough against, like what, 24 arbs, but if the bombard cannon can take down the arbs, this is a completely different scenario. Obviously, Modri now has to reboom, but that's why he made 10 town centers, because that's the core concept, and this is why teching into light cav and heavy camo were sort of useless for Mr.Yo. I don't think that he expected the Flemish Revolution. It kind of felt like at the beginning he thought there is going to be Flemish Revolution, but then he realized it's like, my opponent might not go for Flemish Revolution after one, it might be fast podding. The arbalests here are very clustered up, so the bombard cannons could definitely take a good shot, but they're mispositioned, and because of that, the light cav will just take them down very easily over here. So, still, the arbalests are finding a nice choke point here, but the militias just keep marching, and there is still a couple of bombard cannons out there, with traps coming in to take down the castle as well. I feel like Yo didn't expect this one, and that's so weird. This is what we were talking about, that on traditional terms, Yo is a better player than Modri, but Modri knows the clown strategies, and now Yo has to scramble for more arbalests. Now, still with Flemish Revolution, the key thing is just slowing it down, because it's one big mass of units, it's down to 95, and I feel like Yo is gonna have to keep this castle alive, because after that it's gonna start becoming scary, but if he can actually grind down those Flemish militia numbers, suddenly it's going to start becoming better and better for him. But now you see why people are often complaining about Flemish Revolution as a technology. It's because it feels so awkward that all you do is just make wheels and then suddenly you have an enormous army over here. As he's stacking into literally everything. You can see that Yo is scrambling to defend this one, because he's stacking into Cavalier now, made a castle, popped out a couple of Chukonu, still trying to make Arbalest as much as possible, but that castle, as I said, this is vital to keep the Flemish militia out of his base. The militia numbers are pretty low though, and oh, that's even better for Yo! He's got stables here to pop out knights with, and he could just take down the siege weapons. Apparently that's not something that he focused on. He could have actually taken down those trebs. The militia numbers are disturbingly low now for Modri though, and just 15-20 arbs here could be able to hold what's remaining out of this. And now Modri's gonna be down to 62 wills. Obviously he's rebooming slow and steady, but his walls are wide open, he's gonna re-wall it. He knows exactly that in the moment this push dies out, Yo is going to send cavalry into his base. And we're gonna have the push pretty much stalling out here, as I said. Bombard cannons are now down, as we will have Modri down to 111 population. Yo's population isn't amazing either, to be honest, so all this achieved is that this is gonna be a long and grinding game. Surprising is the fact that Modri isn't targeting that monastery with the relics inside with the traps. That's definitely something that he could actually do. Looks like he's going for a production, going for ranges over here to take down the buildings that are needed to produce the arbs. And he's also trying to target the stable so that the knights or light cav cannot pop out behind him. He's going for forward siege workshops. He's not giving up, but his army numbers are pretty much gone. And from this point on, I feel like now Modri is in trouble. Flemish Revolution is a wacky technology because if you survive that initial push, it's like 99% guaranteed that you're gonna win the game, but surviving that initial push is very difficult. Overall, nice reaction from Yo, indeed, and yeah, the only thing that I actually would say was kind of sad for him is that he lost his castle over here, but other than that, he reacted just in time, I would say. And now, considering that Modri's golds are wide open for the Arbalest to raid here, I think this game is pretty much just over here. Because now Yo is sitting on 4 relics with 160 pop, Modri is at 106 veils, 2 army, and as I said, Yo just needs a couple of arbs to take that gold away from the opponent, and Modri is not gonna have any gold income, basically. And Burgundian Trash here is not really the composition that you want to go for. Still, the Bombard Cannons can help holding this one for quite a while, especially with good Bombard Cannon micro over here. This is why Yo is going for the staggered formation. And you are gonna have... oh, that was a decent Bombard Cannon hit over there. As long as Modri has a couple of Bombard Cannons, he can slowly, or at least keep his gold mine alive. But that's going to be just a matter of time until Yo arrives with siege rams. You already see that he's making multiple siege workshops. He's gonna have majority map control as well, so he's taking all the neutral stones and golds right now. He's able to deny the gold income of the opponent as well, and soon, I think when siege rams start knocking on these walls, things will become a lot worse for Modri, who is making spearmen? Spearmen. Okay, now it's GG. Wait, I don't have Capture H Pro? Wait a second. I'll have to look into this one. I thought I actually have, like, I swear I had that my Pro license on. That's awkward. I may need to reach out to the Capture H guys about that one. But anyways, I'm gonna try. Oh yeah, I might need to log in again. Let me... I'm just gonna hide it for a moment. No, I'm actually logged in. Let's log out and log in again. Let's hope that that actually... that actually fixes it. Boom. This is awkward. I am gonna have to talk to the Capture H guys about this one. Because I should have Capture H Pro. But anyways, there's a couple of things I want to do. So, first off, in terms of stats, let's take a look at... oh yeah, APM is also locked behind the thingy. I will actually try fixing that while we have the Dark Age Fuel Age of the previous or the next game. You see, this is Flemish Revolution, and exactly how a Flemish Revolution game goes down. Boom, big army, and then suddenly you grind it down and it's over. That's exactly. Would Onagers have helped Modri? Yes, I think so. Onagers would have helped quite a bit. And maybe not losing the Bombard Cannons at the beginning. I think it lost like 4 or 5 Bombard Cannons to Light Cavalry at the beginning. That probably hurt really badly because I think Bombard Cannons, especially Burgundian Bombard Cannons by themselves, should have been enough to take down the Arbalest. But yeah, Onagers could have been pretty helpful. I feel like he just didn't have the time to prepare as much as he wanted to, because he got pushed by Yo pretty early and he was forced off from the gold mine. He had to make fortified wall and stuff like that. Alright, first things first, I need to disable the mods that H-Vampires decided to just add me. So, let's disable the mods that we don't need. And we're gonna add the score to Mr.Yo here. So Yo reacted nicely to the Flemish Revolution. And we will take a quick look at the draft here as well. I'm just gonna need to make sure I hide everything that you are not supposed to be seeing here from my like capture age login information and stuff like that. All right, so we're gonna have Burgundians gone for Modri, and where is that? Chinese gone for Mr.Yo. And we're going back. Let's see if they already have game number 2 up in this one. Apologies for, as I said, the technical difficulties. It just happens sometimes. It looks like this is also day stacked with technical difficulties, including capture age. But yeah, I'm gonna reach out to them and ask them what's up, if this is a bug or a feature. Alright, they're just now starting the next game. So we should be able to jump inside in a matter of moments. Okay. And now restart capture age. So if all goes well, I'm gonna have the APM stats now in as well. Let's hope that this fixed it. For whatever reason, my subscription expired, which is awkward. Okay, now we have Pro, so we can actually go full Pro on this one, as we will jump into game number 2 over here. I haven't added the score yet, but Yo has taken game number 1, and we'll now go for a Cumans versus Celts matchup over here. That is definitely a surprising civilization matchup over here, I must say. Yo coming in on the right side is Red Cumans, and left side is going to be Modri in Blue Celts. And as bad as Modri's map was in the previous game, this one is actually pretty nice. A lot of space at the back for him, double goals at the back. Stones are quite on the front, which is sad, and also the berries aren't nice, but berries shouldn't really be a big issue. Stones are not nice, but the golds are actually very, very safe for Modri over here. Relic spawns also feel a little bit more equal, I would say, so 2 pretty close to Modri, 2 relatively close to Yo, and 1 sort of in between the 2 players in this one. Yo's got an interesting base layout. He's got a very, very narrow crossing here to a big clearing here in the corner. That's an awkward map generation. Haven't really seen many like that. Kinda hurts for Yo because this would have been nice space for him to use, but he will probably just make a lumber camp here eventually and chop it down if he needs space at the back. He's got a beautiful stone at the back, and the berries are also nice. On the other hand, both of his golds are on the front, which is not ideal, and his secondary stone and golds are obviously outside. That seems to be consistent for matchmaking arena. And now the main question is, what is Yo going to do? Because Cumans have a couple of options they can play around with. Probably the most standard way of playing this one is just go for fast feudal, go for 2 TCs and just boom up. But the thing is that if someone goes for a fast castle 3 TC boom, like Modri for example, he could easily get to the same economy as Mr.Yo, and Modri would also have the ability to pick up relics. Modri could just make a couple of knights and get the relics. Harrison, thank you so much for the raid. Welcome everyone from your stream. Welcome all the AoE free people around. So, I am not 100% convinced that you want to go for a 2 TC Cuman boom here. Because the thing is, that if you go for that, you pretty much surrender all the relics to Modri. Modri should just make 2 knights and a couple of monks, and he can pick all 5 of those up, plus he will probably have a comparable economy to use. So you might need to come up with something different than that, I would say. Obviously, if he wants to play 4 relics, and he should, I believe. Hey Fitzbro, hey Aussie Drongo. It looks like we have all of the AoE free celebrities here now. All the year has been pushed in by Yo. Meanwhile, for Modri, it looks like he is done with all of those. Now, here's the deal. We had a bit of a scout scuffle, and Yo took the first hits. This is pretty important for Modri, because Yo would have the faster scout because of Kumans eventually. And if Yo was the one delivering the first hits, he would be able to chase down the scout of Modri. With this, Modri is able to scare Yo's scout back into his base. So, oh, you've been playing some low elo AoE too? I'm gonna have to check the VOD for that. I'm really curious how AoE free people play AoE 2. I have seen a couple of them playing around. It's always fun to see these sort of interchanges between communities. It's the same thing as seeing AoE 2 players play AoE free. It was very fun. Like, Viper and Doubt were pretty good in AoE free, but there were some other AoE 2 pros like Nikov who tried AoE free and then just quit after 15 minutes because they got steamrolled. Did Yo get housed? He has gotten Loom. It's possible. It's very possible he did. Yeah, he's got a crazy house here. This house makes no sense. So it's very possible he got housed. And he's about to get housed again. That's why he has gotten Loom. It happens. Yeah, Doubt played pretty decent AoE free. I saw that. Viper also played pretty decent. He just doesn't know the game. But I actually watched the VOD. There was a Viper versus Doubt show match at some point. And I actually watched the VOD for that. That was a fun one. Alright. So it looks like Yo is gonna end up going for 21 pop feudal, which is the standard for a 2 TC boom. So it looks like he's going to surrender the relics to Modri because that's the likely scenario. I really love how Modri squeezes in one will in between this mining camp and the gold mine. This villager will be super efficient. The only way that this can backfire is if the opponent has archers hitting this villager, but this will never happen on Arena because you have stone walls protecting you and you have this gold at the back. So on Arabia, this would be a little bit more dangerous. On Arena, this is all fine, and this villager will basically have 0 walking distance. You see that? This is a super efficient villager. You can even try squeezing in 2 of them in there. Obviously, you will never be able to get that out until you chop it outside. So, if you want to send these villas away to wood or food, then that's not going to be a possibility. Modri is going for 23 plus 2, which is pretty decent, I would say, with Celts. No surprise about that one. He's not going for a barracks yet, though. Which raises the question of him just going for Blacksmith Market and just go for ATC Boom. I think, considering that his opponent is going for a 2 TC Boom, it's very possible Modri will just make a couple of monks anyways. And just not go for knights or scouts to escort them. Although, I would have probably preferred at least having a barracks for him, so that he is like a spearman to scare that scout away. Second TC in for Yo, and here comes the Kuman 2 TC Boom. This TC is actually nice on the wood and on the gold. Although I could have imagined it being just on the gold purely because there's already a lumber camp here, so it feels a little redundant. On the other hand, you don't have to walk that much with these vills and it's still going to cover the gold and wood, so it's an alright TC. One thing that's interesting to look at, and that is, I'm not sure if this comes from Yo's inexperience on Arena. Inexperience is in quotation marks. Obviously, he has still played quite a lot of Arena games in his career, but compared to Modri, he has played way less, but he didn't actually end up deleting these walls. And that's something that most Arena players do right at the beginning. You see that Modri started off by deleting all those walls for a little bit more space. It's not like Yo needs to do that right now because he doesn't need this. The reason why Arena players do that at the beginning is because that's where you don't have to pay attention to a lot of things, so you don't want to delay this one a lot because otherwise you're just gonna have to do it while you're doing something else in like Castle Age or Imp. Whereas in Dark Age, you don't have much things to do, so you might as well focus on deleting these walls and freeing up the space for yourself, just like Modri did. Modri actually went for free farms, goes for Bit Axe, and Castle Age is already in. Market Blacksmith indeed for him. And he is 4 on gold, so there is gonna be a decent amount of monks popping out over here. And with the Celtic Lumberjacking, he should be able to afford Monastery, 2nd TC, and then probably 3rd TC pretty fast over here. He only has 8 on wood, but that will soon change because these villas will start moving on wood as well. So, we are gonna have 2 TCs for Yo, and the reason why I kind of dislike the Kuman 2 TC boom here is pretty simple. You will see that by the time Yo gets up to Castle Age, his opponent will have comparable economy. So a fast castle free town center boom is going to be completely equivalent to a 2 TC Kuman boom, but in exchange, as I said, Yo has no potential to pick up relics right now because he's feudal age, whereas his opponent can just go for a monastery and start picking up relics quite early on. So you see 620 food, that's almost enough for 2 TCs and a monastery over here. We got R4W04, I completely... Is that trying to be Ravao? Or Ravoa? Or just R4W04. Thank you so much for the new sub, I appreciate that a lot. Raw, okay. Okay, so it's raw. So, we're gonna have 2 TCs being added here by Modri, and once he has the wood for it, he's gonna go for a monastery. It looks like he's going to delay it and go for heavy plow and Boso as well, so his economy once again is gonna be great. And the window that you're targeting here with Celts is most likely an early Imperial into Halberdier and Siege, and that's something that Kumans in theory could struggle against. So, the thing is that Kumans, the only thing that they can do to stop Siege Ram Halberdier push is Mass Kipchak. Mass Kipchak works really nicely against that though, but it takes quite a lot of time to get to, so an early Imperial Hab and Siege is not something that Kumans can deal with easily. Anyways, it looks like Modri is going for Stone, which means that he will add a 4th TC eventually. I'm somewhat surprised he's not contesting relics. He's probably scared about the opponent's scout right now, which by the way moves faster than his, so there is no chance for Modri to chase that down. For now, Yo is about to lick up to Castage, and it looks like he's going for a barracks. He will probably go stable blacksmith, and he's mining stone with 2. So, there is a chance we'll have 2 more TCs being added in Castle Age. What does the time below the worker efficiency show? I'm not gonna lie, I haven't read the version information for the new Capture Age yet. This is the new version, and this column, I know it's worker efficiency. Oh, thank you so much. They have tooltips, so we can read it right now. The amount of time workers have spent gathering, building, and repairing in the last minute divided by the total worker time available in the last minute. Okay. I assume that this then counts the actual active worker time, right? So, yeah, this is the active worker time. And if you would actually divide this number by this percentage, and then multiply it by 100, you would get the actual, like, possible highest work time of villagers. So, we're gonna have Modri with 3 TCs for now, and it looks like this is not even going to be a 4th TC. It's going to be for a castle, potentially a castle drop. As I said, a 2 TC Kuman boom is basically going to be dead even to a fast castle 3 TC boom. You see that by the time Yo reaches Castle Age, this is gonna be pretty much even. Villager count, and added to the fact that, you know, you already have Boso and Heavy Plow for Modri, so... Oh, that's a fight that Modri doesn't want to take, but he kinda has to, and it looks like that's one will being yoinked away from him. He tried to drop a couple of outposts to see what's up, but guess what? Yo is pumping out scouts, and it looks like the player that's going to surrender the relics will be Modri. unless we are seeing sort of a pike, mangonel, and castle drop style push here, because it looks like Modri isn't planning to drag this out for long. He probably wants to go for a pretty aggressive strategy. And now, what Yo could do is a potential early imp. Look at those resources. This might be the strategy for Yo. This was a strategy that was pioneered by Classic Pro in Tuples in Regicide Fortress. It was used pretty extensively. The idea was that you go for a fast 2TC boom, and then you go into a fast Imperial. In that case, you already had Kipchak, or Kipchak available because you had a castle, but the concept is the same thing. You go up at like 65, 70 vills into Imperial, and on such a close map, this could be devastating. Yo has enough stone, or soon will have enough stone, for a castle, and considering that he's the one pumping out scouts, and he could even make a couple of knights, as his opponent doesn't have any monks, this could even be a castle drop and trebs. This could work out really well from Yo. This is a much more clown-esque build order that he's using, and you see that Modri, he's gonna have stone for a castle, but at this point what Yo needs is just a couple of knights to secure map control for him. Castle drop, he doesn't even need to go super aggressive with the castle, like he can place it over here or so, and then just go up to Imperial. In fact, it's a massive... What is Yo doing? Yo could easily go up. That was a little bit of a wasted time. He already had a workshop and a monastery, and he was making a university just now. He was floating a huge amount of food by the time he clicked up. This could have been like half a minute faster as well. It's still not the end of the world, but I mean, that could have been a blazing fast imp here from Yo. And now here come the vills for the castle drop. This is a very, very good build here still from Yo. Modri is not gonna be that much behind in imp timing though. So maybe that half a minute that Yo delayed can actually backfire really badly over here, because Modri's gonna have a defensive castle, and when you have this situation, you have a defensive castle and you have an offensive castle here in a trap war, that's going to favor the defender, because the defender can always pull a lot more vills to repair. Modri can pull 25 vills, 30 if he needs, to repair that castle. Yo won't be able to do that. Yo is gonna have these vills out here. If he needs to pull some extra vills, he needs to walk all the way through the map. It's going to end up being Kipchak, which is the sole right thing that Cumans can do against the Celtic play. And it's very possible that because Modri is expecting Kipchak, it's going to be Halberdier, Onager, and indeed, here come the barracks, and here come the mangonels. Not a single relic has been picked up so far, although it looks like Yo is the one that's going to start collecting those. Obviously, a couple of extra relics would help quite massively. So, it looks like it's going to be a 1 minute advantage for Yo, which should allow him to start getting a couple of traps out, take down buildings, and taking on the blacksmith would be a nice idea from Yo in the first place, because that would delay the upgrades for his opponent Modri. Modri's only building this castle with 3, but he will probably send a couple more vills out once he sees his opponent being in Imperial. Pikeman upgrade just now coming in. Modri's actually going for stone walls, so he knows exactly that, okay, he's gonna have to weather the storm for a couple of minutes, because reaching Imperial is one thing, he needs to get to Onager and Halberdier. And Onager is a pretty expensive upgrade and takes quite a lot of time to research. So, Mangonel now comes in. Yo has enough stone for a second castle. And indeed, here comes the second castle, which would solidify his forward position here. So, we're gonna have... this siege workshop is very, very exposed to the traps, so I think that Modri's gonna need like 2 more here at the back, so that he can actually consistently produce onagers in this one. Yo's economy is not that weak, to be honest. It's not as good as Modri's eco is, but he's gonna have the advantage of already having a trebuchet out, and he's gonna have a second castle soon. Remember that Modri can't access more stone, so if he needs to repair a castle or if he needs a second castle, he's gonna have to buy it. And you see that he's gonna have to research Onager on this siege workshop, because these two will go down. I really like how Yo is targeting the siege workshops. He knows exactly that his opponent is probably gonna play Onagers. And because of that, he's going for workshops right now, and that's going to be pretty expensive for Modri to replace. And more importantly, Modri is gonna be lacking space to replace them. Like, you're gonna have to drop your siege workshops over here. You can't place them over here, because then it takes forever to get an Onager out. We already have 3 of them out on the field for Modri here. Not a single kip check out right now for Mr.Yo. Goes for the conscription upgrade. He already has Bloodlines. I think he has all the upgrades he needs, with the exception of Ballistics. It's actually a little awkward that Ballistics is not there for Yo, and neither is Chemistry. So he's missing some crucial upgrades there, especially considering that Kipchak can't have Bracer because Kuma's missed that upgrade. Chemistry is extremely important for the Kipchak over here. So there is still a bit of a window for Modri to try and counterattack this one before the Kipchak numbers start becoming dangerous. And here comes Modri with the onagers. He's going to start shelling this castle over here, as Yo is going to reset his traps, and he'll probably realize that he's going to have to counter-trap this. But at this point, Modri can target the castle, and his opponent will have to target traps. This is always a good scenario for those that are just having their traps being targeted. So the traps that are shooting the castle will be guaranteed to hit, whereas these won't. So it's much easier for Modri to just send a couple of wheels to repair these traps, whereas his opponent is gonna have to send a bunch of wheels to repair a castle that's under heavy firing. And eventually, it's going down. Yo's gonna have to potentially try and commit and push the traps with the Kipchak. The Mangun will actually damage the onagers quite heavily, and that allowed Yo to snipe down some of them, but Yo loses one of his castles. And the key problem that Yo is facing is that he's gonna be lacking production in terms of being able to go Kipchaks. And if there is no Kipchaks, it's just going to be Halberdier and Siege Ram, and that's not something that Yo can fight against with Kumans. Nice move from Mr.Yo, diving in with the Knights and the Scouts, sniping down the Onager, but he's going to sacrifice all of his cavalry doing so. Meanwhile, the Onager gets an acceptable hit out here. Chemistry is just now in, and Modri just now Onagered half of his own pikemen. No Halberdier in for Modri, neither is Siege Onager for Celticus. He's still missing quite a lot of upgrades, but he has weathered the storm for the time being, as Party and Tactics comes in for Yo. Yo now has 3 relics, and he should have the ability to pick up both remaining ones as things stand, putting him to a 5 relic count, which obviously will put Modri in a timer. On the bright side of things for Modri, he's got 20 villagers lead, and his unit composition seems to be a lot more convincing than that of Mr.Yo's. So, with these traps taking this castle down in the next half a minute or so, it's very unlikely that Yo is going to be able to keep this forward position alive. And indeed, even before the Vils arrive, that castle is just history, as Yo tried to dive in to snipe the traps, but that didn't happen. Poor Lumber Camp is also going to get annihilated here by the traps. Siege Engineers on the way for Modri, as is Plate Mail. He's still missing all the attack upgrades for his Halberdier, but that's probably not #1 priority right now. And we're gonna have Mr.Yo with Light Cav. So here the idea is that you need something that you can just spam at the opponent and just try to snipe the onagers. He knows exactly that the Halberdier will eat the Light Cav. The idea is that the Light Cav will be pretty efficient to snipe down the onagers. So remember that since Yo has soon 4 relics, he has just Yoing this one, and this is still accessible for him. He's gonna have the relic advantage. In theory, if he can play a slow game, he's gonna have a very good chance, because he can mass his Kipchak, and the light cavalry should be able to snipe the onagers. Both players have their opportunity here, but obviously Modri is the one that's on a timer currently. So, let's see. 5 traps being bagged up right now by Modri. He's the one with the score lead, but as I said, it's one good fight for Mr.Yo and it's all gone. The same applies for Modri though as well. Just a couple of good onager shots and the entire army of Mr.Yo is just history. There is Siege Onager, and then as I said, Furor Celtica will be pretty valuable over here. Is Modri the strongest arena player? It's hard to say if he's the strongest, but he's definitely one of the strongest in terms of pure arena players. So people that are not like generally very high level like a Viper or so, he's probably the best pure arena player. This is why it's a so intriguing matchup, because Yo in terms of overall skills is probably better, but Modri in terms of pure arena play, he's the best player of the arena players. I like this spearman decision here from Mr.Yo. He just sends that in. He just wants to see what Modri is up to. Sees all the onagers out. And this is the situation where I don't want to be in if I'm up against anyone, to be honest. That many onagers, you just look away for a second and your army is gone. Now, that's actually a nice hit over there from Yo. It looks like Modri didn't expect those traps to be set up there. And there's a chance that we could even see Yo use those traps against the onagers, as Furor Celtica is in for our blue player. And indeed, that's the plan here for Mr.Yo. A couple of trap shots on the onagers could be really valuable here, as they are mostly missing the target and the siege onagers will make a quick work of that, so it didn't work out that well for Mr.Yo, ends up killing 0 onagers. So, here come the onagers. Some light cav will be sent to the left side with okay-ish upgrades. Not amazing, but at this point what you need is just to have something that can snipe the onagers, as here come the onagers. Yo is gonna have to be very careful. As I said, you look away for a second and you lose your entire army. That's exactly the situation for Yo, as he runs into the Halberdier with the Hussar. This is really scary for Yo, I'm not gonna lie. As I said, he just looks away for a second and he's going to lose his entire army. And those are Celtic siege onagers with Furor Celtica. The only thing that would be scarier than this maybe is Torsion Engine siege onagers for Ethiopians. It looks like Yo is going to commit against that though. He's got Balls of Steel, man, but... honestly... it wasn't that bad. So, quite a lot of onagers died this one. I'm not saying it was a good fight for Mr.Yo, but it may have been at least an acceptable one. This is worse for him though, this is way worse. He's running into the Kipchak on the north. And, oh, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. Modri just onagered his own Halberdier, only to finish off the Kipchak on the north. The big problem for Yo here is that he needs to keep his Kipchak alive, and it's very, very hard when there's so many onagers firing at you, and you need to keep a good group of Kipchak alive. He only has 9 right now, which is obviously far from enough. So, at this point, Modri has a much easier time microing stuff, because he knows exactly that Yo constantly has to ensure that his Kipchak will not get steamrolled by the onagers, and that's exactly what Yo wasn't able to accomplish so far. He's down to 11 Kipchak. Another castle goes down, pushing Yo down to 3 remaining. But the bigger problem for Yo is that he doesn't have a consistent Kipchak production. Meanwhile, looks like Yo is gonna have a mass migration coming to the left. Modri even goes for fortified wall because he's probably scared that Yo might try to hit his economy over here. And indeed, a trap will be sent to take that TC down. But Yo's base now is wide open, including the monastery that houses 5 relics. Champions will be added as well by Modri. But the bigger thing, I think, is that he's got 57 army against 19, and since there is no Kipchak, it's free real estate for siege rams. The only thing that Cumans can do to stop siege ram realistically against Celts is Kipchak, like mass Kipchak, but that's not happening. And now, it looks like Yo is just getting steamrolled here, because the monastery is gone, his base has been breached. What happened to Mr.Yo here? Did he drop? No, he didn't drop because he's still queuing up Kipchak. It was just so awkward that this is still an opening here, although even if it was walled off, it wouldn't matter because the onagers would just chop it open, and it looks like Yo is going to tap out. Modri takes the next game over here. Worker efficiency was, as we are seeing, way better for Mr.Yo overall, and in terms of, peak value as well. But the key thing is unit composition here. So the fact that Modri could actually get up to Imperial and Yo wasn't able to leverage his faster Imperial is what decided things, and the fact that, as I said, the onagers are just so threatening to the Kipchak. If Yo is able to micro his units appropriately, which is insanely hard, so use the Kipchak against the Halberdier and then loop around with light cav, take down the onagers, then this is doable, but this is insanely hard micro for Yo, and he wasn't able to do it in this game. And let's look at the APM stats, because that's actually an interesting one to look at. This is basically actions per minute for those of you that are unfamiliar with this. And Modri actually had higher APM for the majority of the game than Mr.Yo had. That is definitely an intriguing stat to look into. We can also take a look at where that APM went. And you see that economy-wise, it was mostly focused here for Modri in terms of eco, but after that it was pretty even. But the military APM was probably bigger for Modri. Part of that is that he was filling Habadir, so he had to do a lot of unit queuing, but probably the fine microing of the onagers as well is something that contributed to all of this. Anyways, with that, what a beautiful graph. This is a wonderful graph to look at. Alright, so we're going back to the lobby over here with an even Steven score line. So let me pull up the draft over here for you, as we will get the score in. The score line is even. We have 3 more games to go. So let's take a look at their civilizations remaining. Celts are gone for Modri, and Cumans are gone for Yo. Both of them had this civilization picked for, or as the 4th civilization in their respective drafts. Modri still has Ethiopians, Byzantines, Slavs, and Franks to play with, whereas Yo has still Britons, his first pick overall, Khmer, his second, Mayans, Italians available to play. There's a chance that Yo is saving Britons and Khmer for later games, because those are his more powerful civs, and he's going to go Mayans or Italians in the next one. Considering that Slavs are in the party, I think Italians is not something that you want to risk, because there's a chance that Modri would do the exact same thing here with Slavs against Italians. So this might be the time you have to pull the trigger on Britons. Because if Modri goes for Slavs, Mayans will die to that really badly, like the same Habadir Onager play. Or it could even be Champion Onager. In fact, that's better against Mayans, obviously, because Mayans don't have cavalry. But basically Onagers, siege rams, and then some sort of infantry play. Khmer would also die to that. Italians, so. I think Italians have their bombard cannons, which obviously helps a lot at dealing with the onagers, but Italians would just die to Habadir siege ram, I believe. So Britons might be the only civ that doesn't die to Slavs here. And considering that Modri also has Ethiopians, that could also be used as a sort of siege onager, torsion engines, sort of Habadir siege style civilization. So that may be on the mind of Modri. And because of that, I would say it could be a reasonable move from Modri to go Slavs in this one. Because even if he ends up losing against, let's say, Britons, even Britons would struggle against siege ram. So I think Slavs is a pretty decent answer to everything that Yo has. But even if Modri ends up losing with Slavs, he will still have Ethiopians, and if Yo loses Britons, then Ethiopians will pretty much just counter everything that Yo has overall. Why do Italians die to Habadir siege ram? Archer, bombard, canonager. Because Slavs will have block printing monks to convert your bombard cannons, and your onagers will not be as reasonable as Slavic onagers are. Obviously, Habadir siege ram may not work as it is. It depends on timings. But the Slavic unit composition of Habadir, onager, potential monks with redemption and block printing, and siege rams obviously, is something that I really like over like Italians are very, very heavy on their archers, and they can't really use it well in that situation. And bombard cannons are nice until you encounter monks or until you encounter siege rams. Bombard cannons are not good against mass siege rams. It looks like we're gonna have a good old-fashioned Arabia civilization matchup over here, though. It's going to be Franks versus Mayans. Interestingly, not a civilization matchup that is very frequently seen on Arabia. Alrighty. So, with that being said, let's jump into the next game. Welcome to game number 3 over here. We'll have Modri on the south in blue as Franks, and to the north it's gonna be Yo in red Mayans. Condos should be good versus Slavs early in push. I am not 100% sure that you can actually beat Slavs to Imperial by that much. And if you commit too much to condos, the Slavs will just eat you with their champions. So I think there's a way too big gamble here. I don't think that you can reasonably get through the opponent's wars with condos and also beat them to Imperial. I feel like Slavs champions, war behind Slavs champions would actually be able to hold on that one. Monks versus Bombardkin, does that work like that? Yes, it absolutely works like that. In fact, on Arena, that's pretty common. So, one of the best things you can do against Bombard Cannons, especially on such slow-paced maps, is Monks with Redemption block printing. Obviously, the Bombard Cannons will potentially have the chance to snipe your Monks, but the resource efficiency is crazy. So if you think about it, a Monk costs 100 gold, a Bombard Cannon is 225 on the wood and gold department. So even if you lose 2 monks, trying to convert the bombard cannon, you will still come in more efficient than your opponent does. And you don't have to have a super sustainable push with this. Are we gonna have a double deer push here? Nope. For a moment, it seemed like it. So the problem with bombard cannons is replacing them when you get them lost to conversion. Because after that, you're just not gonna have an answer to onagers. Alright, so looking at the maps over here, we're gonna have Yo on double back gold mines. That's beautiful for him, but his left side is super wide open. Overall, he has very long walls for arena standards, so I really dislike this wall here. If he had a forest here, I would say this is a 10 out of 10 map. Like this is a little bit underwhelming, especially because this stone is somewhat close to the walls, and Mayans will definitely need their stone, especially against Franks, because Franks will struggle quite badly against like a mixed Eagle Warrior plus Plumed Archer setup. Pure Plumed Archers obviously won't work because Onagers are still there for Franks, but mixed Eagle Warrior and Plumed Archer setup is something that could be very, very nice here for Mayans. I could see Yo stonewalling this eventually and just securing the stone here though. Meanwhile, we're gonna have Modri on the south in blue Franks, and considering that I mentioned that you know, Mayans have a pretty decent save matchup in late game versus Franks. It's very possible that we're going to see something a little bit cheesier from the Frankish player. I think that at this point, this might be one of those maybe 1 TC scouts into castle drop early Imperial style plays. One thing that Franks like to have on Arena is that you have super cheap castles, and those super cheap castles could be very valuable for a bit of a clown push. Now, here's the deal. This stone is super exposed, and what's even worse is that it's close to the walls of Modri. This means that you can scout this stone mine, and if Modri is trying to take this stone, Yo will see that he's gonna have the time to react to it. So, while the idea of using a lot of cheap Frankish castles to secure map control and go for an early imp and traps or so is there for Modri, it's a little bit risky because Yo has the chance to spot that one happening. Modri's base is also quite bad, double forward golds. I just don't think that Modri wants to drag this out for long because his base layout is not really suitable for it. His late game unit composition is probably inferior to Mayans as well. The only thing that actually would be good for him late game is that the relic spawns are very much in his favor. Basically, all relics are closer to him than to Mr.Yo. The relic spawn seems very, very unfair over here. Now, what is Yo up to? He's just chilling here with the eagle. Mr.Yo? What's happening? Okay, now it's much better. So, Yo is going for stone, so we're gonna have a bit of an old school play over here. This might be straight plumed archers eventually. The idea is not bad because the plumed archers can actually help you secure map control. You can slowly mass them over time, and it probably, like the presence of a defensive castle, also makes it much harder for Modri to go for like a super aggressive early castle age push. Even if Modri castle drops you, you're gonna have a defensive castle to hold him off. So I really like Yo's civilization here better than Modri's one. Now Modri's gonna be careful, because if he deletes these two tiles of wall, the back of his base will be open. So this is probably why he actually kept some of it over here as well. As Modri's gonna go for a standard 24 plus 2 fast castle here. But yeah, he's gonna have to be careful because this is actually an important tile for his ball. Even if he deletes this, this should... No, wait. If he deletes it, there is gonna be an entry here to his base already. So yeah, this tile has to stay up here for Modri. Everything else could go, but I guess doesn't want to risk it. So for now, he's on 2 wood lines. I'm going for a very standard fast castle play over here. Probably barracks and stable will be coming in here for him, because he's gonna try picking up some relics. But if he plays for a long game, I'm starting to like Yo's position a little better, because despite the fact that Modri has the chance to pick up 4 or 5 relics relatively easily, I still believe that the late game unit composition for Yo compensates him for that. So we're gonna have free on gold from Yo because he went for Loom with Mayans, so he's gonna have to have 3 villagers on gold. Yo only went for 1 wood line, and that is because he needed some wood to drop a mining camp. And Yo, that's a little sloppy over there from Mr.Yo. Because these villagers are just walking back, and if he does it like this one, and he has the wood for a mining camp, then he's not gonna have gold to click up to Castle Age here. It's very awkward. Is he just trying to gather a bit of a gold and then sell stone to go up? It kind of feels like it. It kind of feels like he just wanted to gather a bit of a gold so he doesn't need to sell that many resources. But this build was a little wacky over here for Mr.Yo, and these villagers definitely felt very indecisive, as they're now making a mining camp, which to me just means that Mr.Yo messed up something really badly over here. Because, as you see, I mean, he ended up making a mining camp there, something that he could have done a little earlier as well. Still, this is a pretty clean build here from Mr.Yo. Should be able to go for the castle immediately upon hitting Castle Age. Castle Age is coming in as well for Modri, who's popping out a couple of scouts to control the map. But considering that his opponent is going to have a couple of plumed archers out soon, unless there is defensive upgrades for Modri, those scouts could die to the plumed archers pretty easily. So, scouts are now moving out. Modri will definitely put a big emphasis on picking up relics. The problem is that, as I said, if he's only picking up relics, he's gonna be in trouble, because there is a chance that Yo isn't going to stop at 1 castle. He's gonna drop a castle here, make plumed archers, and then send the villas back on stone. And when he has the villas back on stone, there's a chance that he's going to use those plumed archers to just move forward and drop a castle on the opponent's face and play 1 TC imp into Trebs. He has scouted Modri and he knows about both of his stone mines. No, don't tell me. Disaster! He wants to castle drop Modri. The only thing that he could do to throw away the game. Modri shouldn't reveal his scouts yet. Modri should just wait until these villagers are nice out in the open. Because right now, Yo could still run back, and Modri is playing this one smart. This is gonna be the biggest ambush ever. That's a disaster for Mr.Yo. Look at this, he's even using 1 scout to drag away the eagle, and now the scouts arrive from the other side. Absolute disaster for Yo here, and GG. There is no way this is a drop. This is probably a GG from Yo. He was like, okay, I'm gonna lose all my vills. Now that was an underwhelming game. I mean, This is, I think, one of those situations where it clearly shows that Yo is somewhat inexperienced on Arena, because the standard Arena meta nowadays is that you go for scouts and go for relics. It's very rare that the players don't go for any units to contest the middle. Maybe Mr.Yo thought that that's not going to be the case this time, because if you think it over, the thing is that in the previous game, Modri didn't go for the relics, so maybe Yo thought that, hey, Modri's not gonna go for relics here, and I'm just gonna go for a castle drop. But on the other hand, I just feel like this was so wacky. He had absolutely no idea the scouts are out there, and I mean, if he wanted to do it like this, he could have made a barracks. I mean, he had the resources for it. If he makes a barracks and makes 5 spearmen, he can make this happen. But this was overly ambitious by Mr.Yo, that's for sure. Because the thing is that he just basically assumed, without any legitimate scouting or any legitimate information to base this claim on, that Modri is not gonna go for a single scout, and he can just castle drop Modri here. Well, that was underwhelming. We saw a bit of a castle age boom over here, and that went all the way into a GG. So now it's 2 games for Modri, and I have to say that compared to the previous 2 games, he definitely has gotten this one pretty easily. So let's hope that the next game is going to be a little bit more competitive. And also, I would like to highlight that I think that this is a massive gift for Modri. Because not only did Yo just lose a game like that, it was also the fact that Mr.Yo had the better civilization, I believe, for late game. So Yo needed to throw this away really heavily not to win it. Alright. So, Modri is saying he is going to need like a half a minute break or so that's why we're waiting. And we will soon move out. For game number 4 here. So far, Modri is leading 2-1, but all 5 games will be played, so you will see at least, well, not at least, but guaranteed 2 more games in this one. So, we should be having the next game up in a matter of moments. This week, indeed, as the game is launching, this week we're also gonna have stuff like Visible Cup and many other things going on, as we will have Modri versus Mr.Yo here. Britons versus Byzantines. That is an intriguing civilization matchup, because obviously the cheaper Byzantine trash is something that helps so much against the Briton archer play. On the other hand, Britons is still one of the scariest civilizations on Arena. Like, that extra range that they get already on their crossbows, but especially on their arbalests, that is absolutely brutal. That is insanely hard to match up against with any civilization. Now, Byzantines are actually somewhat suitable for a potential monk rush, so it's very possible that this is the moment where Modri is going to pull the trigger on it, although against Britons, that's actually a little bit dicey, but I guess we're going to see in a matter of moments. We're going to jump into the next game over here, and apparently Capture Age has completely freaked out here. So, Capture Age, wake up again, and welcome to game number 4. We're gonna have Mr.Yo as Red Britons to the south, and to the north it is going to be Modri in Blue Byzantines with an absolutely good base here, I would say. Backstone, back gold, quite a lot of space at the back as well. the berry patch is on the front and the secondary gold is on the front as well, but this is definitely a very good base over here for Modri. Whereas on the other side, for Mr.Yo, he also has a comparable base. His primary gold is out here, quite far to be honest, but his stone is nice, and he's got a backup gold at the back to work with, so he should be all good to go. It also helps for Mr.Yo that he's got cows on this map, and since on maps where you have cows replacing some of the sheep, you always have more food coming from herdables. That helps Britons quite a bit, because Britons even gather faster from those herdables. Obviously it helps everyone, but Britons benefit from it a little bit more than other civilizations. Tatars benefit from it even more, but we're not seeing Tatars here. So, a deer push coming in here for both players. Modri is gonna go for the wood line on the right. Meanwhile, Yo's gonna have a nice little corner over here for his wood line. Eventually he's gonna have to replace this lumber camp because it's going to run out of wood relatively fast, but for now this is a good lumber camp for him. Relic spawn wise, if we take a look, it seems slightly better for Modri. He's got one relic very close to him. And in the meanwhile, we also have one relic relatively close to Yo, but a little bit more out in the open. This one is pretty open as well. So is this one, and so is this one. So most of the relics are out in the open and are out there for anyone to pick off. So this could be an interesting relic situation, depending on how much the players commit to picking up those relics. So for the time being, we have all the deer being pushed in from either players. Modri already finished, so he can move out and get some scouting done, whereas Yo is just now finishing with the deer push over here. So I like how Modri is actually scouting the back of his base. Oftentimes, although I think on matchmaking arena that's much more rare, sometimes you have your secondary gold and stone here at the back. And that's one of the reasons why I always recommend scouting the back of your base on Arena, because if you actually do that, you might find some valuable resources that could be life-saving in the end. In this case, that's not really a thing for Modri, because apparently there is nothing else that he needs to scout over there, but still, it's nice to know what's at the back of your base over here. Now, there is a large amount of options for Byzantines. Let's talk about that, because there's absolutely no guarantees we're even seeing a fast castle here. There's a chance for a fast Imperial, there's a chance for even a Tower Rush if Modri wants to play it that way. He's only free on wood, which is suspicious, I would say. It is suspicious at minimum. Are we going to see a Tower Rush here? Because you would probably need 4 on wood for a normal fast castle build in this one, but now that the second lumber camp is being added, it looks like that's not going to be the case. A fast imp is still a possibility, but I don't see any farms being dropped either by Modri. So I'm a little bit puzzled by this build order. Modri knows his builds really well, so I would doubt that he would just forget about farms. He's queuing up quite a lot of vills though. Maybe he feels like with the cows he can actually skip farms, and there might be some truth in that. We'll see if that's going to be the case for him. He still has a board to work with, so it's gonna be alright for him. Whereas on the other side, Yo is gonna go for the standard fast castle build over here. Interestingly places the farms to the left of his DC instead of to the right. And everything that Yo is doing is just a standard fast castle over here. Meanwhile, for Modri, he goes all the way up to 8 on wood, and now he's going to start dropping farms. So looks like we'll end up with a fast castle build over here after all, but was definitely one of the more wacky ones from Modri, I would say. The boar is in, and he should be all good to go with the timing as well. Just now finished the cow. So he's using 4 on berries, whereas on the other side we also have 4 on berries. Sometimes you see players sending 5 on berries, especially if they're afraid that they will run out of food beneath the town center, so they want to use a little bit more of the berries for his food income. But it looks like that's not going to be the case here, which is, I would say, predictable because you have the cows. to work with. Yo is going for a 24 plus 2 fast castle over here. And for Modri, this is gonna be a later click up. And he's dropping a lot of farms. We might be in for a fast imp here after all. Because as I said, Modri knows his builds, and his if this is a fast castle build, it's definitely one of the more unique or wacky ones. Looks like it's gonna be a fast castle build after all. He's going for 26 plus 2. Pretty late for today's standards, but obviously with Byzantines not having any Dark Age eco bonus makes you unable to go for tight builds like, let's say, 23 or maybe even 24 plus 2. Nonetheless, the question is what Modri is going to follow this up with, because this could still be a Monk Rush style play, or he could just try to play standard scouts, contest relics, and play for long game, because Byzantines could definitely play around with that idea, although I think you don't want to play for a long game. A barracks is coming in for Yo, but make no mistake, it's probably gonna be scouts for Yo. I don't think making archers here would make a huge amount of sense for him. Sometimes you see that happening, but in the majority of the cases on Arena, you want mobility, you want the ability to snipe down monks, so let's see. It's going to be a stable indeed for Mr.Yo, and probably a market is going to be his second building, which is going to be late because he's a little low on wood. So not a perfect build here for Mr.Yo. He might need to add one more villager or just idle his town center for a moment. Goes for a blacksmith at the end instead of a market, as on the other side, we'll have a barracks as well. That's going to be for probably scouts from Modri as well. Indeed, here comes the stable and the blacksmith as well from Modri. It's somewhat surprising that he went all the way up to 4 farms, because I'm not sure if he needed the 4th one. I think the 3rd one is something you can justify with a save that has no eco bonus, and because of that you go 26 plus 2. But I feel like 3 could have been enough for Modri. 4 is safe, but he may have been able to do it with 3 farms. Anyways, he's on the way to Castle Age. The timing was perfect. He just finished up with the herdables beneath the TC, and now he's gonna have the wheels on stragglers. So slightly faster Castle Age here from Mr.Yo, and this could allow him to potentially try picking up at least one relic before Modri is able to. Modri obviously will try to snipe the monks as much as possible. Both scouts took some damage already. Yo is down to 20 HP, Modri is at 25, but Yo already has more scouts popping out. Scouts are on the way for Modri as well. Neither of the civilizations have bloodlines over here, so that's not an option for either side. So we're probably going to see light cavalry being added from either player. We're gonna have the new farms being built with horse color for Modri. That's nice for him. And here's where the Britons will get a really nice advantage. The cheaper town centers should allow them to go for 2 TCs and also add the monastery over here for Mr.Yo. And that's going to be very, very nice value. Here's the monastery. Villagers freaking out. What? What? Yo? That must be a misclick. That must be a misclick. That monastery should already be going up. There's the 2 TCs, but it looks like Yo probably misclicked the villagers and accidentally sent them back, because now he's sending them out. So here is monks on the way and 2 TCs being added. Whereas on the other side, monastery is coming in here from Modri, but since Byzantines are lacking any kind of major economical bonus here, he's not gonna be able to afford the free TCs, which will make the economy of Yo much, much better. Light Cav coming in here for Modri, no Light Cav just yet for a red player. So the key thing for Modri here, knowing that his economy is going to be weaker, is probably beating his opponent to Imperial. Go for a 2 TC play, as Modri will turn back with the Light Cav, get a couple of hits on Mr.Yo. And I think that this is a fight that... Oh yeah, Modri is taking this scout away, and now he's going to take this fight. Nice decision making there as well from Modri. Yo is doing a nice job keeping his scouts alive right now, but without the Light Cav upgrade, I don't think that he's gonna be able to... Oh! Disaster for Yo! And the gate is open! The gate is open and Modri is gonna dive in with the light cav. He wants to scout how the opponent's base looks like right now. He probably felt like this monk is way too close to the town center, so he didn't want to chase it down. But I have to say that this could have been a lot scarier for Yo. He was in to lose at least a monk here if Modri decided to attack this monk. He ends up not doing so, but behind this one, Modri is the one that's gonna start picking up relics over here, the first one already coming in. And as I said, at this point, with Modri dropping TC number 3, considering that you want to keep pace with Britons, you might even consider a 4th TC, or just go for 3 TCs and go slightly faster to Imperial than your opponent by idling them for a moment. First relic is in for Modri. Yo hasn't been able to pick up a single one of those, and it looks like he's not really committing to that either. Once again, keeps the gate open. Yo! He got away with this one once, that's not gonna be the case here, and he doesn't even have Loom. Yo has to make Loom right now. How to throw away arena games in half a minute. This is going to be the title of the YouTube VOD out of this one. That's one villager down, and now he has to make a knight to deal with this one. He's actually very lucky that his opponent doesn't have a monk here, because if there was a monk, then the knight would be converted and things would get even worse. But that's one villager being picked off. But the bigger thing is that while Yo is dealing with that one, Modri is quietly picking up relics, and he's gonna be up to 3, with a chance to end up with 4, even 5, potentially. So that's the main problem that Yo is facing here, that all that distraction means that he's just unable to focus on what he really wants to focus on, and that it's picking up relics. Looks like it's a race for relics here, and Yo changed direction, and that is why his monk is gonna be a little too slow. And since you have the command queued, what you have is you right-click the relic and then you shift queue it back to the monastery to pick it up and bring it back home. But if the relic disappears, it looks like the monk will just go back home. Full disaster for Mr.Yo over here. He's going to lose the monk as well to the light cavalry. As behind this one, Modri is going to lose a monk here as well. But Modri is going to have a nice and comfy 4 relics now. And there's a chance that they will see a 5th one in here as well, because there isn't really a lot from Mr.Yo that is capable of contesting the middle. In this one, Modri trying to bring in the light calves close to his monk to get a conversion in. That's a little bit sloppy from Modri though, on the other hand. That scout is pretty weak, so the light calves will finish it off and the knight gets converted. Holy smokes, that is an absolute stomp in the Relic Wars. That's an easy 5 relics for Modri. He didn't even have to work super hard for that, to be honest. And behind this one, Modri's at 60 wheels, his opponent at 55. There is wheelbarrow for Yo, which compensates a little bit, but not to an extent that is able to compensate for 5 relics, that's for sure. So, right now, Modri's economy is a lot better than his opponent's economy, and he's gonna have the discount on the Imperial Age, which could allow him to get a really nice power spike and steamroll Yo before Yo could get to Imp. Yo is going for TC number 4 here, while Modri instead sends wheels to stone, probably aiming to drop a castle eventually. Keep in mind that Modri knows that he's got the advantage controlling the middle. He could easily castle drop his opponent. And I wonder, like, Modri did a lot of scouting in the opponent's base, and this is why this could be so problematic for Yo. He allowed those light cav into his base, so now Modri knows the resource layout, and look at this. This is what Modri sees. This place is screaming for a castle drop. Modri knows about this secondary gold, and keep in mind that Modri sees that there is no secondary golds out here other than this one, so if he thinks it over, Modri knows that there is a back gold mine over here for Yo. On the other hand, still denying the primary gold would be extremely valuable. Yo, in the meanwhile, is getting close to picking up the Imperial, goes for the University so he can actually get rolling with Imperial Age, whereas on the other side, Modri is gonna do the exact same thing. He's got a Monastery and the University is in, so Imp times will be pretty even, which obviously help the Britons here. What won't be helping Mr.Yo is gonna be map control, because he's gonna have none of it, and there's a chance that we're just going to see straight skirmishers from Modri. Like straight skirmisher bombard cannon or something like that. because he probably knows that Yo wants to switch into Arbalest eventually, so going for straight skirms could make some sense. It looks like Modri is going to end up picking up a little bit faster because Yo went for a couple of combat upgrades on his archers before doing so. Oh, look at Modri. He's actually stonewalling the gates of the opponent here to prevent units from coming out. Now you could say, is that necessary? The opponent can just delete the wall. Sure thing, but in the moment you delete the wall, you expose your base to potential enemies running inside. So while this doesn't do that much, it's definitely frustrating for Mr.Yo, and it could eventually result in Yo deleting some of his walls to let his units out. And that could be pretty helpful for Modri at getting back in. Indeed, straight elite skirms is the name of the game for Modri, who possesses a 2 villager deficit right now compared to his opponent. Crossbows are out already, or Mr.Yo will be spotted as well by Modri, so he knows exactly that his plan is working. He's playing for the pure elite skirm play, and that feels like a castle drop to me. And that might be the reason why he's only stonewalling this gate. He's alright with the crossbows coming out on the right or on the left. He just wants to make sure that the crossbows can't come out here. Because every second he delays those crossbowmen with, increases his chance of getting an absolutely beastly castle up here. This castle will have like 7000 HP when reaching Imperial. Now, that's only 1 skirmisher and... okay, now it's 2 and it doesn't have +2 defense. So it's not really an ideal fight. Yo tries to dive in with the scout, snipe him the monk, but that's not gonna happen either. And against low amount of crossbowmen, the monks are surprisingly good. And as this is why I said that deleting the walls can backfire for Yo really badly. And that's why Modri walled off this gate. He knows exactly that at this point, even if Yo opens the gates or opens the walls, that's completely fine for him, because he can just run in with the knights and commit against the crossbow, and that's very, very nice anticipation there from Modri. Now, the Breton traps will eventually be able to beat the Byzantine traps if they have Warwolf. But Warwolf is just a distant dream right now for Yo, because he's gonna have to continuously produce traps. Added to the fact that Britons don't have bombard cannons and Byzantines will. Siege workshop is already up, chemistry is on the way, so soon we'll have some bombard cannon hitting the field as well. And Yo's castle is at 4.8k HP, his opponent has 7000 HP on that castle. This is looking really good for Modri over here, and I mean, the KD tells a lot about this game, 25 to 10 only. Yo is trying to go for his own skirmishers, but he doesn't even have any Castle Age armor upgrades on those. Now, Yo's gonna try going for light cav, but I feel like that's a little too late now because his castle is gonna be exposed to trebs. Yo can always pull more villagers to repair this one, but obviously bombard cannon will help heal quite a bit for Modri. So the bombard cannon should be able to take down the opponent's traps here pretty easily. Masonry coming in as well for Yo. He knows exactly he needs to keep this castle alive. That's his only chance. If this castle goes down, his base is wide open for assault. Meanwhile, we have husbandry coming in. Light cav was already researched as well by Mr.Yo, but he only has 1 stable. So realistically speaking, cavalry isn't going to be a thing for Yo for the next couple of minutes. Anyways, instead his own elite skirms could work, but cost efficiency wise Byzantines are better, and look at these. +4 defense, +4 attack versus just 1 defense upgrade. Second is just now coming in, and the lead skirm is in as well for Yo, but obviously the cost efficiency is nowhere to be found, and here's the first bombard cannon to join the party, making life even worse for Mr.Yo, and Modri could be getting closer and closer to winning game number 4 here as well. The first trap goes down for Mr.Yo, and the second trap is also potentially going to just die here. Yo's gonna send in repair villagers, but repair villagers being sent from the castle to the trap means that the castle doesn't actually have enough repair villagers right now. Nice micro from Modri there as well, evading the trap shots, and now there's only 1 trebuchet for Yo versus 3 and 2 bombard cannons as well. So this castle goes down, the primary gold is gone for Mr.Yo, and his backup gold mine is pretty much almost consumed. This is looking extremely bad for Mr.Yo, and keep in mind that Trash Wars is not something that he would want to go into either, because Byzantines are amazing with the cost efficiency of their trash units. Plus, his opponent is sitting on 5 relics, every single thing is going in the favor of Modri right now. He's got 5 relics, he's got the better trash units, he has denied the primary gold of the opponent, he has like overwhelming majority of the map under his control. There's just nothing that goes in the favor of Mr.Yo right now. So with that, now it's just buildings going down. Army numbers are also almost double, as I see Modri adding an archer as well. I wonder if he will eventually switch to arbalest, or adding a couple of cataphracts would be a decent idea, I would say, because he's mostly up against skirms. So a couple of cataphracts could work nicely, as the cavalry hit the field for Yo, which will catch Modri by a bit of a surprise, but the numbers of cavalry that we have on the field here is not necessarily enough. Or is it? Modri's gonna have to be careful about this one, because those are some very expensive siege weapons that he could actually lose here in this fight. But he's already tacking into his own light cavalry, as Yo will just tap out. Modri ends up winning game number 4 over here. We could look very, very deep into the statistics and saying that, hey, both players had the exact same worker efficiency throughout this one, but realistically speaking, this was all about Modri being able to pick up 5 relics. He had much, much better fights than Yo had in that timing. Then this castle going up, and then just the preemptive lead skirm play from Byzantines. He just said, okay, my opponent is Britons, it's very, very likely that he's just going to play arbalest. So I'm gonna preemptively go skirmishers, and the gamble paid off. He was able to surprise Mr.Yo. The Bombard Cannon Edition as well was able to decide the outcome of this trap war, and from that point on, this gold mine was gone for Mr.Yo. Very nicely done by Modri over here. I think he just outplayed Yo in every single aspect of the game in this one, and Modri ends up being victorious here in game number 4, but we have game number 5 coming up as well. $50 per win in this show match, and $50 goes to the overall winner. So Modri already secured $200 because he's got 150 from his individual wins, and 50 as well from the fact that he's going to be the overall winner, because Yo, like the best scoreline for Yo could be 3-2 loss. Anyways, Yo is still fighting for that 50 extra dollars, so is Modri. That is the price of the final game. We're quickly going to take a look at the draft here, so let me bring that one up. Boom. So Byzantines are gone for Modri, and Franks are also gone. Mayans and the Britons are gone as well for Yo. We have Slavs Ethiopians versus Khmer Italians remaining. I feel like either of these civilizations for Modri is something I like more than the remaining ones for Yo. Considering Yo still has Khmer available, I would say Modri is more likely to go for Slavs than he is for Ethiopians. But both of those civilizations are siege onager civs. Slavs are a lot more infantry / cavalry heavy, whereas Ethiopians are obviously more of an archer style civ, but both of them have siege onagers available, which is quite important for Modri on Arena. Whereas on the other side you have Khmer, which I think would struggle quite badly against both of these civs, so this might be the time for Italians, for Mr.Yo. We'll see what he has on his mind. The players are in the lobby, and I would like to give a shout out to both of these players for, doing this quite rapidly. We're not actually having 15-minute downtimes between games. I appreciate that a lot, because oftentimes we have that in sets and that kills the hype. We already have the countdown for the next game over here. We will see. I know the score is wrong. Don't freak out, please. Don't freak out. Okay, score should be fixed now. So, we are coming down to the final game over here. Ethiopians versus Italians. This is one of those matchups where, in theory and on paper, Italians have the chance to win that. But it depends on how they can control their bombard cannons against potential onagers from the Ethiopians. Both of these are archer civs, but I just feel like there is a lot more damage potential in Ethiopian torsion engine, bombard cannons, and onagers than it is at the Italians. If you think about that as we go into the next game, as we'll have Modri on the left side in blue as Ethiopians, right side is gonna be our red player, Mr.Yo. So, as I mentioned, the big deal here is that bombard cannons are available for both sides. Arbalasts are available for both sides, but Ethiopian arbalasts are better than Italian ones. Then you have bombard cannons with torsion engines, easier to micro, much higher damage potential for Ethiopians than it is for Italians. Same thing with the onagers. I just feel like the Ethiopians are capable of doing everything that the Italians can, just better. That being said, Italians definitely have their window because the unit compositions are similar, so execution, better execution from the Italian player to be precise, could be enough to win the game. We're going to have a nice stone at the back here for Modri and or for Yo. The secondary gold is very nice as well for Yo here, so is the primary one. Whereas on the other side, Modri is going to have a front stone, front gold, and another front gold. Not ideal by any means. Relic spawns are actually very, very even, I would say. Both players have one easy to pick up relic, and 3 relics are sort of in the middle of the players. This is a super balanced relic spawn that we're having right now. So, let's take a look at the build orders of the players at the beginning over here. So the first thing always to look at is how many villas on wood, because that could help identify some wacky / crazy builds. But usually it's gonna be 4 on wood, especially for Yo, because he's the standard player among the two. What's going to be more interesting to look at is what Modri is doing with Ethiopians, because the fact that Ethiopians get resources upon hitting the next stage makes them a very, very good fast castle civilization on Arena. So it's possible Modri is going to pull off something like a 22+2 fast castle here. We'll have to keep an eye out on that. He's already finished pushing in the deer, as he's going to lure in the boar and simultaneously pick up the remaining goats that he has. Meanwhile, he's already scouting his base, whereas Yo is actually taking the boar first and still has some deer to work with. This actually gives a nice chance for Modri to scout the woes of the opponent without being attacked by Yo's scout. So the fact that Modri is pushing in the deer really fast allows him to get a pretty decent chunk of information in Dark Age before Yo would even move out of his base. That helps quite a bit here, because he's not in danger of potentially losing his scout or just taking an inefficient fight and losing HP on his scout. That would force him back into his base. So, now we have all the deer being pushed in as well, and Yo is going to venture out as well to see what's up on the outside. So for Modri, he's staying free on wood, but as I said, with Ethiopians, you can definitely do that. So that's one of the things that we're going to see. And if I'm not mistaken, Ethiopians don't even need to mine gold to click up to Castle Age if you don't do Loom. Because you start with 100, you will get 100 as well upon reaching Feudal Age. So there's a chance that Modri is going to just ignore gold mining for some time as well. And then if he's only food and wood, there's a chance he will just go for a free TC boom and play for a late game, because, as I said, Ethiopian's late game is something I like a little bit better than the Italians' late game. So, second boar is in here for Modri. That could have come a little bit faster, because he kind of needs to consume this already if he wants to go for a tight fast castle here. Farm comes in, so it's going to be an FC from our blue player. And for Mr.Yo, the first thing I'm noticing that's awkward is that he only has 2 on berries. Now he's adding a couple more, but you see that when you oversaturate your huntables / herdables beneath your TC and you don't have enough on berries, you will consume this too fast and you will not have the food to click up. So it probably would be better for Yo to send out 2 more villas on berries now, because he barely touched his berries and that will still be needed to click up, otherwise he will run out of food here beneath the town center. Now he's going for free farms. And Yo? Why is Yo half a villager behind? That is because Yo had 16 seconds of TC idle time. This is so uncharacteristic of Yo, and I kind of feel like every game was a bit of a step back for Mr.Yo, because the first game was absolutely amazing from him, second game was pretty competitive, and then gear number 3 and 4 were sort of disasters. And now 16 seconds of idle time, especially in Arena, is quite awkward at minimum. He's gonna go up at 23, leveraging the cheaper Italian uptime, or cheaper Italian age up, whereas on the other side, for Modri, he's going to go 2 farms for the time being, and he's going for 24. That's a bit of a surprise, because Ethiopians can do a tighter build than that. You gotta ask if that's actually worth it, because super tight builds will still end up being problematic. You probably won't be able to afford getting a barracks out and a stable for scouts or monasteries and theses at the same time. So it looks like Modri is just going to go for this standard 24+2 fast castle and simply just take the resources that he's getting upon reaching the next stage and bank them up. You see that he's having slight differences with his build order because he only sent 1 villager on gold, as this will probably be a stable blacksmith type approach from him. Other side, we also have a stable potentially planned here by Mr.Yo, and once again we'll have the players contesting relics. Exact same scenario as before, scouts and the fight for the relics, and Modri is probably going to do the same thing as well. Just go up light cav, and monks try to pick up the relics. That's basically the game plan over here. Stable on the way for Yo. In the meanwhile, he's 2 on gold, and indeed stable blacksmith for him. Stable blacksmith as well for Modri. So he should be good to go up. You see that he's even floating a bit of resources. In fact, he was able to get double bid-axe by now already. That is, as I said, because he's getting the extra resources, but that's basically it for him. And it's going to be nice 24+2 from him. Whereas on the other side, Mr.Yo is gonna play 23+3 over here, but reality is that the timing is a little bit late for that, because as I said, that's 14 seconds of TC idle time. So, now we're gonna have some more farms being added here by Modri, and this is something that's very smart. Look at this. He started making the farms, but he stopped doing that until he didn't finish Horse Color. You could see that Horse Color wouldn't have finished by the time these farms are done. So what he did was that he sent away the villagers that were building the farms to straggler trees and waited until Horse Color finishes, and only after did he finish his farms. That's a very nice little touch for him, and very important, because you want those farms to have Horse Color. That's a nice little edge overall. Anyways, Yo already has a Horse Color as well, starts dropping farms himself. And we're probably just going to see pretty much mirror plays over here. It's interesting to see that Modri never moves out with more scouts than 1. That's something I noticed for previous games as well. You see that Yo is out with 2 scouts. Meanwhile, Modri is pretty much hiding his scouts, so he always keeps his opponent in the dark in terms of, is my opponent gonna go for more scouts or not? You see that Yo does not have any idea about that stable. In fact, Modri even sacrificed his scout here. This is probably all intentional. He wants to make his opponent believe that he has dealt with the only scout and Modri is not contesting the middle. Reality, however, is that there is going to be light cav coming in, and considering that Modri is Ethiopians, he can even get pikemen out because he's got the free pikeman upgrade. Something that also makes Ethiopians slightly better than Italians in this one. This time, however, as Yo is once again going to let those light cav into his base, so Yo is gonna have to quick wall his vills. Disaster, because those vills don't have loom. That's a weak villager over there that could be sniped, and once again, I think the big deal here is that Modri is going to distract his opponent. So you see that Yo is going to be forced to chase this one down. And that's going to take free light cav away from Mr.Yo. And he just can't let this stay here. Spearman alone won't actually clean this one up either. And you see that behind this one, Modri is going to be able to start picking up relics. At this point, Modri is just scouting. He doesn't want to kill villagers, he just wants to make sure that Yo knows that there's a couple of light cavs here that he needs to deal with. Because as long as these are here, you see that Yo's attention is focusing this direction. He's chasing this one down, now there's a light cav coming in from Yo as well, but considering it's only the one light cav, the pikeman will have a quick work with it. As Modri turns back and takes a fight. That was an interesting decision because he ends up losing one light cav. As the light cav is now coming in here from Yo to try and snipe the monk over there. Meanwhile, Yo has the monk out to try and convert the pikeman. This must be a delete here from Modri, and indeed he deletes the pikeman to avoid it getting converted. Already one relic in for Modri, as Yo is going to pick up the first one as well. This time, look at this. Modri just yoinks that relic away in the final second, knowing that Yo is coming in. The light cav comes in, Monk tries to get a conversion on the pikeman, but at this point, Modri just needs to get that relic close to his walls, and that relic should be secure for him. A successful conversion was in there for Mr.Yo, but Yo ends up losing this light cav, so at this point Yo traded one light cav to a pikeman and a monk. That's reasonable value, I would say, over there, but he still can prevent Modri from picking that relic up and this relic up. So while Modri is not gonna have a decisive advantage over here like in the previous game, Modri will still have 3 relics over here most likely, whereas Yo will be sitting on just 2. Free TCs are already out as well for Modri, so his economy is gonna be slightly better than his opponent's eco. He already has Boso as well. Whereas on the other side, you have free TCs for Mr.Yo, but only double bit-axe in for him. And Modri is going for stone quite early on here. Considering it's only one will on stone right now, there's gonna be a couple more coming for sure, but it may just be for a 4th town center, or alternative is that he wants to go for Siege Onager Shoral Warrior, and that's always a very, very scary unit composition. The thing is that Siege Onager and Shoral Warrior is a unit composition that's very easy to lose. You can easily Onager your own Shoral Warriors. On the other side, if you can actually micro it appropriately, that's a lethal unit composition. And he's actually pretty heavy on stone, so that's going to be for a castle. And when you go for a castle this early, that's probably going to be because you want to have your unique unit as your primary unit. It looks like this time Yo is going to be a lot more aggressive than he was in the previous games. And he is coming with a forward siege workshop. Yo is also on stone with 3. Remains to be seen if he actually adds more villagers on stone and thinks about a forward castle, because unlike the 3rd game where he just sent villagers forward into scouts for a forward castle drop, this time he has the map control to drop a castle in the opponent's face, and a castle here would be devastating for Modri's economy with that gold and stone being wide open over there. That's not something that Yo knows about, and that's actually pretty lucky for Modri. Yo is trying to get a conversion in here on a villager, but that is not gonna happen for the time being. Oh! That was an insta-convert, and Yo needs to delete that villager. Beautiful. So you could ask, why was that an insta-convert? And that is because this monk actually kept his conversion percentage or conversion progress from converting this villager. And when it switched targets to this one, that turned into an almost immediate conversion. And after that, obviously, that villager couldn't have done anything over here, so to avoid Modri converting it back, Yo just deleted it. This way, basically, Yo killed the villager. Converted it and then deleted it. And here comes a battering ram with pikemen, choo-choo, as redemption monks are also on the way. This is where things could get heated up for Modri, but he's very close to dropping a defensive castle. And the best way to stop a Monk and siege push like this one would be a defensive castle. Modri is actually selling quite a bit of resources to buy himself a castle, I believe. He's got the stone for it. The question is, where is that castle going up? Because he needs it kind of here to protect the gold and the stone. But he also needs it to protect this side, otherwise those units will just march into his base. Looks like it's going to be sort of a neutral-ish position. This still leaves the stone and the gold a little bit open, as the Redemption Monks are coming in and Modri has to delete that mangle immediately, otherwise it would have been converted. Quick walls coming in here from Modri, as he's afraid of those light cav coming in and trying to disrupt his castle. The castle's at 65%, but it should go up in time. And when it goes up, this angle of attack will be impossible to push for Yo. He starts to realize that as well, as he even gives up on taking on that gate and he switches angle. Modri is still on stone, as he's going into Imperial. He's going to have to work with this gold mine for the time being, because his primary gold is pretty much gone right now. Which is far from ideal, but he can actually live without his primary gold for some time. This is why I said that a castle here probably would have been able to protect this gold mine. So it was a decision to make for Modri. He made this decision. This was the safer one, I believe, but he will have to move out of his base eventually. Tries to stonewall this one. Yo comes in with a monk to prevent that one from happening. Another conversion in here for Yo, as Modri will once again try to convert it back and Yo will delete it. So now I saw Modri going for fletching, but I think that was just for the castle, and the answer is no. The answer is arbalests. It's a little bit surprising considering how heavy he was on stone. I honestly thought it's going to be Shotel Warrior Onager, and maybe that was the initial plan, but then he realized that that might not be an option here. And Yo is coming in to try and convert that siege workshop. Modri is very familiar with this one. He knows exactly how it feels when Redemption Monks are coming in, so he had to lead the siege workshop immediately. And now, the monks are denying that stone mine. Another villager gets converted here, and Yo doesn't even wait with that. He's just gonna be like, okay, convert the vill, delete it. This way I think Modri lost like 3 or 4 vills already, and there's a forward castle from Yo. Yo is 50 seconds away from Imperial. Modri is a little bit faster up to Imp in this one. He has a couple of soon-to-be arbs out. The question is, does Modri know about that castle? Because if he does, he will start queuing up traps immediately. If he doesn't, then he won't. And it looks like he's not queuing up traps. That's a mistake. This is a big mistake from Modri. Okay, now he's coming in with the trap, but in such a face-off with the castles, you kinda have to queue up traps immediately, because whoever gets more traps out early is gonna have a massive advantage in that trap war. Currently, Yo's map control is slightly better than that of Modri's, and I see block printing and chemistry coming in. Considering Yo already has Redemption and like Sanctity, Fervor, even Atonement, he can easily convert bombard cannons, and that's what I was talking about. Redemption Monks can always convert bombard cannons, and it could be a very, very nice way of dealing with them. Now Yo is the one who goes preemptively into skirmishers, but I think that the skirmishers here are actually going to be troublesome for Yo, because if it's skirmishers, your opponent will just mix in a couple of Shotel Warriors, and Shotel Warriors train really fast on the castles, so if Modri is able to keep this castle alive, trap down the one from the opponent, and then just see that, hey, I'm up against full elite skirm, Shotel Warriors is a very, very easy and straightforward tech switch for him. Loses 2 crossbows to conversions, and it looks like he will lose even more. And considering that Modri isn't even upgrading to Arbalest, and he got Bracer, but that's it, I am leaning towards thinking that he may not end up going for that many Arbs. In fact, he's not queuing up more, despite having the resource to do so. Bombard cannon is coming in from both sides, but currently Modri has the trap advantage. He already has 2 traps shelling the castle, whereas his opponent is targeting the traps. And that's not something that should happen. That's not something that should happen at all. Like, at this point, you gotta target the castle, because keeping the castle alive is what matters the most. The bombard cannons will have to do some nice and fancy bombard cannon micro, but guess what? Monks and bombard cannons are gonna be better than just simple bombard cannons over here. And now the traps are going down from Modri. He just... this is a very, very hard defense here for Modri, because his opponent has bombard cannons to take down the traps with, and monks to convert Modri's bombard cannons. And in the meanwhile, you can just focus down the castle with the traps and use the bombard cannon to take down the opponent's trebuchets. Modri is in serious trouble here, and the redemption monks are coming in clutch, because those redemption monks are what guarantee the bombard cannon victory here for Yo. If it wasn't for the redemption monks, Modri could also make his own bombard cannon and fight this pretty much evenly. But the redemption monks are definitely swinging the battle in the favor of our red player. And if that castle goes down, I struggle to see what Modri could do against the skirmisher bombard cannon play. Those relics could also be ejected, and this game is very, very similar to, I think, the Britain's game of Yo, where his primary gold was also very, very exposed. It's the exact same scenario. Now it is Modri's resources that are super exposed, and I feel like this could be a time for Condottieri now for Yo. Hussar could also make sense, and it's a lot more gold efficient, but Condottieri could have been an idea as well to deal with the full skirmisher army of the opponent. But Yo sort of defends his honor here in the last one. I can't actually add the score for whatever reason, but yeah, it's actually bugged. I'm gonna reset it and say Modri, wait, no, Yo, Modri, and oh yeah, it's best of 5, that's why. It's play of 5. Okay, now it's better. So yeah, this game was definitely one of the better ones for Yo. He played a little bit more aggressive. I think the sad thing for Yo is that he sort of has thrown away the Mayans game. Like, that was a disaster game from him. And other than that, I think both sides played pretty decently. And once again, Modri has shown that he's able to match up against the highest level of competition on Arena. He has already played a show match against Viper, Hera, Leary, Doubt, I believe, and now Mr.Yo. So he pretty much went through all of the very, very high level players, or players that have been winning the tournaments of recent memory, like the major tournaments. I'm not even sure if he has anyone else to play against yet. So maybe Jordan. Jordan could be the next candidate of his show matches. Once again, this show match was hosted by Modri over here. Modri leaves with $200 for free game victories, $50 each, and $50 as well for the overall set win. Whereas on the other side, Yo is going to settle with $100 for 2 game victories. Congrats to Modri in this one, and once again, shout out to Modri for hosting this show match.